30 years ago or so, my dad was in architecture school. Now, he never really ended up pursuing that career, as when he graduated, there weren't many jobs available in the industry, and so he went a different route with another degree that he had. However, one of the things that he did when he was studying was actually some basic urban planning. Now, I'm also not an urban planner, but it is sort of a side passion of mine, at least the very, very basics of urban planning when it comes to the video game Cities Skylines, which I know I'm probably getting laughed at by any urban planners that are watching this right now. But when he was going through our old barn, he found a document of a neighborhood he designed that was part of a larger city. And I thought it was really, really cool. Maybe it wasn't the best designed thing, but it was something he designed, and I thought, how cool would it be to put it into City Skylines? Now, it's just a neighborhood that's part of a larger city, but this is the only piece that he found of this design. So everything outside of this neighborhood is going to have to be my unique design, but it's all going to start at the core with the inspiration of his original plan. I think the neighborhood is really only between like 3,000 to 6,000 people. The rest of the city is going to be, closer to 100,000 person city. A couple things to note before I begin. I want to preface this with, I am not very good at this game. I don't understand the functionality of all the mods I'm using. I don't really understand road hierarchy. I'd like to understand it. I don't. And the traffic thing, oh man, I am bad. However, I felt this was good enough time as any to start making some videos of my process and what I was doing, and thus this new series of City Skylines by me is coming to you. My dad grew up in a small town called Belle, Plaine, and so this new city that I'm building is named after that. A lot of the other names involved in this build are going to have to do with my family history or locations that are important to my family. Also, the city is canonically going to be set in the great state of Kansas, because that's where he grew up. However, the architecture that we use may not represent that, especially the style of the city. It's not a typical Midwestern town. Not that it's not an American town, because it very much so is going to be car-centric. Now, I'm open to making the best looking city possible. So whatever style that may be, whatever architecture, I don't care if it's, ancient Roman architecture, but whatever is going to look the best, that's what we're going to go for. So I don't have all the assets downloaded yet. It's going to be kind of going step for step. But for today, episode 1, we're going to start platting out the north end of the city. First things first, we're going to begin with the neighborhood he designed, and then we're going to move on to the rest of the north end of the town, platting out the different parks and the roadways and the schools and maybe a little bit of a tram system potentially. Other than that, this is mostly going to be a pretty boring video unless you're a big City Skylines fan. Okay, let's begin. We found a plot of land. So first thing first, we're going to grab our 2-lane gravel road. We're going to follow the outline that the trees have already built for us here. And definitely less than a square mile there for sure. So we're going to go up to 202. And we're going to hold control. It's going to allow us to stay at perfect 90 degrees there. Boom. All right, 202. And we got ourselves perfect square. So what I'll do to find the center, we'll click from here and we'll go over to 101. Find the 101. We know that's the perfect center. So we'll go up, make sure it's 90 degrees. And we'll do the same thing on the side. We're doing this so that we can build ourselves perfect little circles where we want. So bear with me as I get this laid out. And you can kind of see my strategy for why I do it this way. And then what we'll do, now that we kind of have a perfectly 4 sections. So these are going to be our 4 different sections of the neighborhood. So there's circles in between. And he doesn't have the exact dimensions of it, which is what kind of makes it hard here. It's kind of like just eyeballing it. In my last, my first draft of this, what I did circles with a diameter of 18, and then I did one with a diameter of 28. So this time I think we're going to go a little smaller because it didn't leave me much room for the neighborhoods that kind of go, or the roads that kind of go around and kind of fill it in. Plus, we need to build a little city center right here. Last time I had a high school that I put in the center, and that took up the entire space, and I think that's fine. But this time I kind of want to build like a neighborhood center. Maybe. Not exactly sure yet. The main thing is we're going to lay down the roads today, and then we'll figure out exactly. And then each of these, every single section right here, he's got space for like retail, churches, schools. That's where he kind of envisioned having things like that. And in my vision, originally, I put the high school here. I'm kind of going back on that and maybe thinking he was right and that we should put the schools on the outside. So I'm going to hold control here, make sure we got a perfect 45-degree angle, and find my section there. I'm going to do that on both of these. Looks like we got perfect little X's here now. You kind of see how the zoning comes together. I kind of like that. I think that works well. So, not that the zoning of these matter at this point. So now we're going to create a circle. Like I said, I think I'm going to go smaller than 18 and 28. So this time I think we're going to go with, or radius, I guess would be what it actually is, right? Anyways, this time I think we're going to go with a radius of, well, we're going to start, and if it's too small, we can take it back, we can do something else. In my head, I was thinking like 12 and 20. Last time we did 18 and 28. So this is quite a bit smaller. That's what I'm going to try. Basic layout of the neighborhood my dad designed, as you can see on screen. They look relatively close. Here's another image showing you some additional drawings that he had placed on here as far as the interconnectivity. You can see it's not very rigid. So the next thing that I'm going to do is start drawing out those. So we're going to start at the bottom left here. We're going to kind of copy it verbatim. Well, at least as much as possible. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab the freeform tool after we delete this line right here. I'm going to leave that a little bit so I know kind of exactly where the center is. Should be okay. I feel like this road does look a little wonky. Be interesting what it looks like when it's upgraded. The roads we're going to use for these neighborhoods is just these 2-lane alley roads. I really like how small they are. It reminds me of the neighborhoods I grew up in. So I'm not going to actually upgrade all these roads. I just wanted to kind of see how this looked. I think this looks actually really good. But honestly, this seems very familiar to me, the type of road that we grew up on. Very thin, no stoplights or anything, no lines in our neighborhood. Rules for the game. But we might go ahead and stick with that. And then we kind of create that on each of these sections in there, and we'll go from there and we'll start developing out all these additional neighborhood areas. I will say one thing I have a problem with is that there's this huge gap in here, and in his drawings we don't have that. So I actually think I might bring everything a little bit in. And that leaves us quite a bit of space in here to do the city center. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of draw out what I think it should probably be. So that's 30 units right there. Yeah, this is definitely a great size for a city center. To me, at least. I could be wrong, but to me this feels like a great city center that we could almost build little mini circles in ourselves. What do you guys think about that? Should we build circles in there? We might do that. Have this come in right here and then just have roundabouts for the city center. Not like roundabouts instead of a road type, but this could go through the center and then there could just be a circular road. Oh, that's actually such a good idea. So we're going to start with that. So you can see with this new idea that I have here, this circle, having some for the city center, or the neighborhood center, I should say, which we might have like a park or something right here, and then these will all be shops. Just a fun, you know, maybe a pedestrian, maybe what we can do is you can drive through here, and then it's a pedestrian, pedestrian on the circles, or the other way around. No, circles should probably be pedestrian areas. We'll get to that before the end of the video today. So I'm going to continue doing this. I'm going to do the circles. I'm going to do those areas. I'm going to finish all this stuff before I'm going to turn on some music. And so it's going to be muted. I'm just going to work fast. We'll do a little time lapse, and we will talk to you later. Okay, and we're back, sort of. I just wanted to pause here and kind of explain my thought process of what I was doing before I continue on further. Obviously, you can see we've kind of laid out all the areas, and here I'll show my dad's original drawings again. So clearly going a slightly different route. So what you can actually see is I actually made a fully pedestrian with tram tracks going through. So here's what I'm thinking. We're actually going to build several pedestrianized areas. I just really like that feature of this game. I'm actually kind of not anti-car, but I love the way some of those older cities like Barcelona have really tried to use the super blocks to create a car-less city, or even like something like Singapore. And so that's obviously not what we're going to do here, because Cities Skylines kind of relies on American-type, Denver almost type cities. So we'll obviously still stick with that, but to some extent I wanted to utilize the pedestrian. So I think what we're going to do, the pedestrian mechanic in this game. So obviously this actual center right here will have, this will all be pedestrian, which I think is kind of neat. We might end up using the smaller roads here because this takes up an awful lot of space. Actually, in fact, let me see what that looks like if I switch it to the smaller roads. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to stick with the smaller ones. That'll be better. That'll give us some more space to zone in here. And what this does, this also allows cars to still drive through here. So what they'll be able to do, they'll be able to
and then turn down here. And I actually need to make this a one-way. I had it as a one-way earlier, and then for some reason switched up. I guess what we could do is just do that, because then cars can still turn down here and drive through there. So I think that actually works. So that's what we're going to do. Make all these the bluestone, not cobblestone, the bluestone with tram tracks. So clearly we're going to have to create some sort of tram system through here. So what I am thinking is we'll create a tram system that goes around here, circles around the main circle, and then also goes around the edges. That's my preliminary thinking. And then in these sections right here, this section, this section, this section, and this section, I'm thinking those are all continuations of the pedestrian park type areas. And then the cars drive through this area and that, and obviously in the corners. And the rest of the city, we'll get to the rest of the city as we go. So that's my thoughts, and I just want to pause there. But I'm going to go ahead and continue working on laying out what I foresee the city as, and I'll time lapse it fast, and I'll pop in again when I have another thought to share. So. So what I'm doing here, and I may have gotten a little carried away, but I'm going to update kind of what I'm talking about here. I just started plotting out the larger city base. After I do this, I'm still going to focus on this and focus on developing this neighborhood first. But kind of what I was feeling like was that there's some main roads that come out here. And obviously these are not the road types we're going to use, because we are going to attempt, and it will certainly be an attempt, to follow roadway hierarchy. What is going on here? Yeah, wow. I just felt like I kind of wanted to, and I should have done this with my dirt roads. I don't know why I didn't. But I wanted to kind of visualize out what the larger city base could be here. So this would probably be curved around the topography here. So instead of it going straight through this, it'll probably kind of curve around, and then the city can. And then, so far right now, it's a very simple grid. We might have maybe another cool neighborhood or area like that, but it's definitely going to go over into this area so that we can be by the water as well. The city will kind of, I don't know, kind of go like, you know, something like that. I'm not sure exactly yet, but that's kind of what I'm working on. We can kind of, and right now what I was working on with the highway is I was gonna raise it. The city that I live in has a raised highway going all the way through, and like it's not the prettiest thing, but it's super helpful. And so we're just going to lift this highway up and run it along the same exact path that it's running on. I really like this entrance. This will certainly be the main one. And then we'll have, I guess, another highway going over out here. Maybe run it along the roadway here. And then coming out around out to there. Then this can come over. Is there another highway anywhere else on this map? Is that literally it? I think that's it. So yeah, what we can actually do is just create a highway that goes from one end to the other. I think that is pretty easy and simple, and then allows us to have kind of two highways that connects us into the city. But I wanted to make it easy enough to drag like some of these main roads, you know, kind of make some of these main drags going all the way over to this side of the city and the ocean, but that then kind of connected you directly into this neighborhood. And I get that it's kind of cut off there and there's not really a good way through, and that's why we'll have direct entrance to the highway right here. So you'll have, say, like this is, you know, the city I live in. Oops, I just started it. 29th is a big road. So this would be like our 29th, say, is right here. And it goes all the way down. Well, you're coming from this side, and you need to get all the way over to this side of the road. And well, instead of just taking 29th all the way down, just take 29th over to the highway, and then take the highway to circle around to get over there. Or, you know, again, if the highway's coming down over here and you're over here, you need to get over there. Just hop on the highway. That's what highways are good for. So we're going to attempt to follow roadway hierarchy to the best of my knowledge, and I don't know much about it. Actually, I know absolutely nothing about it. And that's kind of my plan right now. As you can see, the spaces that I started building out for the pedestrian areas look good. I chose the cobblestone on this. I know that I have, this is the bluestone. I kind of actually like the difference between it. I think it looks good. And I wanted to focus on the trees. This is just a nicer neighborhood. I think originally in my dad's plan, he kind of had a bunch of different, like, he had multi-level housing, but it's not super fleshed out. And I'm not super confident on what his plan was, totally. So I'm just kind of doing the best that I can there. I figured that there could be, you know, some off of this road here, you know, comes around and falls here. There could be some land and some smaller neighborhoods that can kind of come to a point right here, and then you kind of get into the suburban slash country area over here. And kind of the same thing right here. All this area is not going to be super developed, but we might develop this area a little bit. But the main thing is that's kind of the barrier of the city. I know I'm kind of rambling here, so I'm going to continue getting back onto the time lapse, and you can see me developing more of the roadways. I'm probably going to try to go back to using the dirt roads to develop this, because I'm not quite sure why I got away from that when I was doing these edges. So So what I've decided to do here is kind of make, you know how this is like more of a state highway versus an interstate highway. It's called a national road on here, so I got tongue-tied, but kind of like this is a much older route into the city, perhaps, that followed along the river. And you can kind of see I followed along mostly the topographical information that the game gives. I just added this. I'm never really sure what to do when I'm trying to transition into, just directly into one road like this. So I ended up, this is actually the first time I've used intersection marking tool. It seems like it's pretty easy, pretty handy. Probably can make this look better. Might. Another thing I have to do is, what did I just do? Is go into TMPE and actually go and mark these so that, they're not going in. So realistically, it would be, it goes down to one lane here. You only have a little bit of time to do so. So, yeah, that was pretty cheesy, but you get my drift. We might actually go down to one lane, like right here. That might actually be helpful, especially since this comes down and then you can go back into 2 lanes. So that might be what we do here. We go upgrade this to 2 lanes, and then go to 1 lane. I think that probably makes the most sense. Now, traffic flow might be a bit of a problem, but hopefully this is not going to be the main drag used. And then we'll go back to the 2 lanes and keep that the same, and then it goes back to 1, because that's basically just a merge lane. That's kind of how I'm viewing that right now. Other than that, you know what? We might see if we can make this a tad more realistic. Is that it? Where's the other dot? Oh, all the way back there. We might do pavement here. 0.3 and 1. And then enter. So, oftentimes what you'll see is about 300 feet between blocks. I don't know if that's what we want to follow or not. This is 253 yards right now, so this is like 2.5 blocks. So what you would see is like that. Oops. And I kind of feel like that's not very wide. Let's see. If we were going to do just 100 yards, so 11 units per block. here's what I would say about roadway hierarchy. And granted, just a reminder, I know absolutely nothing about roadway hierarchy, but here's what I would guess the way to make it function in this is that these roads would function as collectors, and this road down here functions as the arterial, and perhaps this is another arterial. Not confident, again, not confident. So, but definitely I would say that this is an arterial road. It's on the edge. It circles back into this. This can be Main Street right here. How about that's Main Street? And then turns into an arterial. Well, that's all. Main Street would definitely be an arterial. It's close to the highway. We're going to say that, and we'll fix the road. We'll make it look a little bit better, especially if it's arterial. But these roads right here are definitely collectors that go into the main arterial road. And we will figure out something similar on this side. See, again, on this side, these collector are functioning right into the arterial road, that goes right down the heart of the city. So that's how I understand road hierarchy. And you have to respect road hierarchy or whatever to make traffic function. But again, I'm probably completely wrong. So if anybody actually watches this series of videos and understands it, you can certainly inform me in the comments. I would appreciate it, of course. So,
hey, I got a confession. Been losing all momentum. Just because it's easy, well, that don't make it better. I wanna dig my hands deep down in the dirt. Take a walk along the street if I'm feeling dessert. All of this convenience just doesn't work for me. I wanna play with fire, let me get hurt. Can we take it back to 95? Before we had this drama in our lives, just staring at the screen every day and night. I miss the rush of living in real life. Go get your DeLorean. Oh, I miss the summers with you and never swipe left or right. I snuck in your window, no friend request, no, just spent the night. I had to walk right up to your locker and risk you saying, boy, just don't bother. I know this all just makes me sound ancient, but sons and daughters, that shit was amazing. Can we take it back to 95? Before we had this drama in our lives, just staring at the screen every day and night. I miss the rush of living in real life. Go get your DeLorean. Go get your DeLorean. Yo, what you got in that bag? Candy, cigarettes, and a Playboy mag? Man, you used to have to work for that. Wait for me, gotta dial up. Can't call my landline cause it's all tied up. Just bike over then. Oh, oh, oh. Can we take it back to 95? Before we had this drama in our lives, just staring at the screen every day and night. I miss
Okay, so this is going to be actually the final update. I'm just going to finish zoning off Duval Farms, and then we're going to call it a episode. So you can see here I finished kind of building out the neighborhoods here. I added these little things. This will be mostly residential. I've zoned it purposely. There's certain areas that we don't want. Since this is a private neighborhood, we'll probably fence it in. I started working on some, trying to work on some different water pieces. This is going to be hard. The water system in Cities Skylines isn't very good. I'm going to do my best to kind of create a nice little water display. I'll landscape it as well, so that'll certainly help at some point. But yeah, as you can see in the neighborhoods, they're all kind of for the same. Within these two have that. That's going to be another pedestrian shopping center. And we'll customize that one, certainly. We'll probably customize all of them, especially the center of Duval Farms. And then Elm Square, we will probably customize as well. Of course, we'll build the city zoo there. Here, I'm not confident. I'm thinking maybe this could be potentially where some of the college sports reside, maybe the college football stadium. And then, of course, yeah, the main Belle Plaine State will go there. This, which is going to be a higher density residential, has its own elementary school right there. I'm not sure what High Grounds is. I think this might be a park that was supposed to be here, so maybe there's going to be a park there. North End High, because remember this is the north side, so our large high school is actually going to go right here. This is going to be the high school campus. We'll have a high school football, a gymnasium, tennis courts, baseball. We'll have all of that. Let's see. I actually decided to combine Lafayette Park and Duval Farms with a larger elementary school right here. So there's going to be an elementary school campus right here. I think it's just kind of perfect fit to put them in right there. It is kind of far away from these people, but we'll probably create some sort of tram service to it. We currently are going to have trams running through Duval Farms, and that's going to be a service that the private owner of the private developer built for Duval Farms. So that's not a city one, but maybe the city will also have a trolley or tram service, or maybe there will be a monorail, or just a basic bus system, which is probably the most likely. Obviously, we'll have buses for the schools, but just as far as everything else, I'm not sure quite yet. Briarwood Elementary, which is this larger neighborhood right here, it's going to have an elementary school kind of centered in the middle. So yeah, so there's going to be 3 elementary schools for this part. I also sectioned off. I decided I was going to build some churches, and I'll have to download some assets that I don't have yet. But I thought it'd be really cool to build a couple different larger churches and then maybe like 4 or 5 smaller churches. So I was going to build a Protestant megachurch, just like a non-denominational, kind of like a Life Church or a Bethel Church campus here, basically. So, and then I'll make it a walkable area, just because that's probably the way to go with that. So there's not a ton of just traffic everywhere. I haven't put up any other ideas of where some of the other churches will be, but I do think the North End is kind of the newer edge of town. That's why they have this super well developed and kind of planned out area of the city. So I do think the older Catholic church, or maybe like the First United Methodist churches will be definitely the Catholic will probably be like downtown, kind of centered, and maybe a Methodist church kind of over here as well. Then maybe some smaller, like, I don't know, Baptist, First Church of Christ. I know that's kind of silly, but I think that's really realistic to a city, and that's something that Cities Skylines doesn't have. I don't think they have a church, and if they do, it's a really basic. Yeah, there's no church. Chapel, no. So those would be some assets, and it might be, like the Protestant megachurch. I have this school, and it might be, part of it might be me custom building with a school, the Protestant megachurch, like, because they're really like big, ugly concrete buildings. So that's very possible as well, that it might not be exactly a church. So we got the north end of the town mostly platted out here. Sorry. We'll have to do a little bit over here. Not much. It kind of peters off here. That's the point, but it shouldn't just become to a stark end. So a few more things to do, but I am calling it a night. And so next episode we will work on platting out the rest of this area, which is quite large. We'll specifically work on downtown. I'm not sure exactly what we're gonna do. It's not gonna be just a grid right here. We'll probably do something about following the. I'm not sure, but we will want to make it somewhat interesting. I also had an idea, and I'll have to do some landscaping, or not landscaping, whatever it's called when you move earth around, to make this possible. But I was thinking of maybe having a pro sports arena in the city too. Like it doesn't have to be like, it could be a minor league, but baseball, football, basketball, I'm not sure. One of those, my favorite sport is definitely football, but there's not really minor league football except for like the XFL, but those teams all play in the big stadiums. So it depends on, this might be one of the later things that I do. It depends on how big the city is. If we get to 500,000, I could see myself putting a baseball stadium, or even potentially a football stadium. But if it's 200, 300,000, we'll want to stick with a minor league, or a smaller market thing. In the United States, soccer, American or football, American soccer is not super big compared to the other ones. So maybe a soccer stadium, maybe a tennis. Ooh, tennis! I do have an asset for a sweet tennis. So we might do something like that. Yeah, this stadium. Well, it's actually way tinier than I expected. Yeah, that's not big enough. So we have some options. Of course, the college is a big attraction, but it's way over here. I don't think that maybe I should move the college to be over here. Maybe, I'm not sure. Well, though it's all up in the air still, but I'm super excited about this city. I like the unique thing that my dad designed. I like the idea of building up a city around it. If you enjoyed the video, let me know and give me some ideas and thoughts of what to do, of what to name things. Duval is my grandma's maiden name, so that's why we named Duval Farms. Belle Plaine is where my dad grew up. So a couple of those things like Belle Plaine and Duval Farms are specifically named, but everything else here is just kind of auto-generated or random. So in North End High, it was just, hey, this is the north side that has a high school. We'll have a South High. That'll be the older high school. Maybe the older high school's right here. Not sure. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. I know that's kind of boring to plat out an episode. Hopefully this was only like a 10-minute watch. I worked on this for like 4 or 5 hours, but I know that most of it is just a quick time lapse. So next episode we'll start working on this, and hopefully soon we can start laying down some city services and then pressing the play button so things can start developing. We'll want to plan out, I'll need to start working on finding some quality assets to make things look as good as possible. Right now I have a ton of different things that don't really go well together, all just random. So I want to create districts and assign them specific themes so they can kind of stick to that. So I'll go ahead and I'll do some research and try to find some themes. So if anybody does watch this and they know of any great themes, this is, I think, an American town, but it's certainly American town. Just look at the rows. But it's not, I don't necessarily have to stick with American architecture and all of it. I have some really cool assets that I used on the first draft of this that from Europe, older European styles or French styles or even German styles that I thought maybe, I don't like this, we can make work. All right, so this is Belle Plaine episode 1. This is what we've done so far. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm excited, and see you next time.